Hey, English learners! Welcome back to the LeapTalk English Podcast, your cozy little place to learn easy English through real everyday conversations. I'm Mary.
And I'm Albert.
Albert, you look like you have something on your mind today.
I do. I want to start with something I have never admitted out loud before.
Go ahead.
There are things I have done, not terrible things, not dramatic things, just ordinary human mistakes that I still talk to myself about very harshly.
Even now?
Even now, years later in some cases.
What does that sound like, the harsh version?
It sounds like, you should have known better. You should have been more careful. What were you thinking? Said with a tone I would never, ever use with another person.
But you use it with yourself.
Without even noticing I'm doing it usually. It just starts, quietly, in the background.
I know exactly what you mean.
And what made me think about it this week is, I was helping a friend through something. They made a mistake, a real one, and I listened, and I said the kindest, most generous things.
And then?
And then I walked home and started talking to myself about one of my own old mistakes in the exact opposite way.
The exact opposite.
Completely opposite. Warm and patient for them, cold and unforgiving for me.
And that gap between how we speak to people we love and how we speak to ourselves, that's exactly today's topic.
Learning to forgive yourself, and specifically, learning the English for it. Because I think sometimes we don't have the words, and when we don't have the words, the harsh voice fills the silence.
That's a powerful way to start.
I'm Albert.
And I'm Mary. LeapTalk English, B2 level, real conversation. Today, speak better English while learning to forgive yourself. Word tour at the end, 8 words. And near the end, we'll do say it better, turning harsh, flat sentences into something kinder and more natural.
Like, instead of saying, I was so stupid.
You can say, I made a choice I'd make differently now.
And instead of saying, I can't forgive myself.
You can say, I'm still working through this, and that's allowed.
If you're learning English with us today, just relax into the conversation. This episode is great for B1 and B2 learners. And if you're A2, you can still follow the main idea.
You don't need every word. Listen for the feeling, repeat the useful lines, and stay with us.
Mary, I want to ask something. Why do you think the harsh voice is so much louder than the kind one?
I've thought about this a lot, actually.
And?
I think it's because we've been taught that being hard on yourself is the same as having standards.
Like, if I criticize myself enough, I'll never make the same mistake again.
Exactly that logic. And the logic sounds reasonable, but it doesn't actually work that way.
It doesn't?
No. Research suggests that harsh self-criticism often makes people less likely to try again, not more.
Because the fear of repeating the mistake becomes too large.
Right. The harshness doesn't protect you from future mistakes. It just makes the memory of the old one heavier.
I think that's exactly what's happening for me with some of those old things. They haven't taught me anything new in years. They're just weight.
Weight that you're still carrying.
Weight I've been carrying for a long time, and nobody put it there, except me.
And maybe that means you're also the one who can put it down.
Maybe. That feels both obvious and very difficult simultaneously.
That's usually the sign that it's worth sitting with.
I want to say something about the word shame, because I think shame is at the center of a lot of this, and it's a word most learners know but maybe don't fully understand in English. Say more. Guilt and shame feel similar from the inside, but they're actually quite different. How would you explain the difference? Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am something bad. That's a clean distinction. Guilt points at the action. Shame points at the person. And guilt, in small, appropriate amounts, can actually be useful. Right. It tells you something mattered, and it can motivate repair. But shame doesn't motivate repair. No, shame makes you want to hide, to disappear, to never speak of it again. And hiding doesn't lead to forgiveness. It leads to carrying it, quietly, for a very long time. I think the reason the harsh inner voice is so often shame-based is that shame feels like it's keeping you honest, like it's the right response, like you deserve it. Yes, and that's the part that's worth questioning, whether the harshness is actually serving you or whether it became a habit long after its usefulness ended. A habit long after its usefulness ended. That's such a precise way to describe it. Sometimes we keep punishing ourselves not because the punishment is still needed, but because we don't know how to stop. And nobody taught us the stopping. Exactly. Nobody taught us the vocabulary for the stopping. Let me try something. I want to describe a real mistake. Not a terrible one, a real ordinary one. Go ahead.
A few years ago, I let a friendship drift away because I was too proud to make the first move after an argument. Neither of us reached out, and eventually the friendship just ended without either of us deciding it should. That's a genuinely painful kind of loss. It is, and for a long time, the way I talked to myself about it was, you were stubborn and proud, and you lost a good friend because of it. That's on you. And how did saying that help? It didn't. It just made me feel bad every time the person crossed my mind. So the harshness kept the wound open without doing anything to actually heal it. Exactly. It was pain without purpose. What would the kind version sound like? Something like, that friendship mattered, and you handled it in a way that reflected where you were at the time. You've grown since then, and the loss is real, and allowed to be real, without that meaning you're a bad person. That's quite different. It's completely different, and it doesn't pretend nothing wrong happened. No, it acknowledges the mistake. It just doesn't use the mistake as evidence that I'm fundamentally flawed. That's the distinction. Acknowledging what happened without letting it become the verdict on who you are. Verdict, already covered in earlier episodes, the final judgment that closes the case. Right, the mistake is a data point, not a verdict. I want to share something too, because this isn't only Albert's topic. Please. When I was younger, I made a decision about a job, about a path, that didn't work out. And for years, whenever I thought about it, the inner voice said, you chose wrong. You wasted time. You should have known. You should have known. That phrase does a lot of damage. It really does, because of course I didn't know. I was making the best decision I could with the information I had at the time, which is all anyone can ever do. But shame doesn't accept that logic. Shame says you should have seen further, known better, been more, even though being more than you were at the time wasn't actually possible. Exactly. And the moment I started saying that to myself, I made the best decision I could with what I knew then. Something shifted. It sounds so simple. It is simple. That's what surprised me. One sentence, said to myself, genuinely, not as a dismissal of the mistake, but as an honest description of how decisions actually work. And the harshness got quieter? Gradually. Not immediately, but gradually. That word keeps appearing in these conversations. Gradually. Because healing almost never happens all at once. But gradually is real. Gradually is enough.
I think there's one more piece. The moment after you've said the kinder thing to yourself, and the harsh voice comes back.
Which it does.
Which it does. And I think most people, when that happens, interpret the return of the harsh voice as evidence that the kind voice was wrong.
Like the harshness is the truth and the kindness was just wishful thinking.
Exactly. So they go back to the harshness.
But the return of the harsh voice isn't evidence of anything except that it's a habit.
A long-established habit doesn't disappear after one conversation with yourself.
No, it comes back and you say the kind thing again, and it comes back and you say the kind thing again.
Until gradually
the habit shifts. The kind voice becomes more automatic. The harsh one loses some of its authority.
Not by fighting the harsh voice.
No, by not giving it the only seat in the room.
That's a lovely image. Not fighting it, just making room for another voice.
One that speaks to you the way you speak to people you love.
Which was always possible. You just had to notice the gap.
And today, you noticed it. And now let's slow down and practice 8 useful words from today's conversation. Our first word is shame.
Shame. Shame.
Shame is the painful feeling that you yourself are bad or wrong, not just that you did something bad.
Maybe you've been carrying a quiet sense that a past mistake defines you.
You could say, I think what I'm feeling is shame, not just guilt.
Or maybe you're separating the action from the person.
Then you could say, I made a mistake, but that mistake is not my whole identity.
Our next word is harsh.
Harsh. Harsh.
Harsh means unnecessarily severe or unkind, much stronger than what the situation actually deserves.
Maybe you've noticed how you speak to yourself after a mistake.
You could say, I'm quite harsh with myself about old mistakes.
Or maybe you're trying to soften that voice.
Then you could say, I'm learning to be less harsh with myself. Our next word is acknowledge.
Acknowledge. Acknowledge.
To acknowledge means to accept that something is real or true without minimizing it or dramatizing it.
Maybe you want to admit a mistake without turning it into a verdict.
You could say, I can acknowledge what happened without letting it define me.
Or maybe you're learning to hold both things at once.
Then you could say, I acknowledge the mistake and I'm still a good person.
Our next word is critic.
Critic. Critic. A critic is someone who judges and finds fault. Your inner critic is the part of your mind that notices your mistakes and speaks about them, sometimes helpfully, sometimes very harshly.
Maybe your inner critic has been speaking too loudly lately. You could say, my inner critic is particularly loud today.
Or maybe you're learning not to believe everything it says.
Then you could say, I'm trying not to let my inner critic have the only say.
Our next word is identity.
Identity.
Identity is who you are at your core, your values, your character, your sense of self.
Maybe you've confused a single mistake with your whole identity.
You could say, one mistake doesn't have to become my whole identity.
Or maybe you're separating what you did from who you are.
Then you could say, I'm learning to keep my mistakes separate from my identity.
Our next word is authority.
Authority. Authority.
Authority means the power to make decisions or be believed. When the harsh inner voice loses authority, it means you've stopped automatically accepting everything it says as true.
Maybe you're questioning whether your inner critic actually has the full picture.
You could say, I'm learning not to give my inner critic so much authority.
Or maybe you're choosing which voice to listen to more carefully.
Then you could say, the kind voice deserves just as much authority as the harsh one.
Our next word is flawed.
Flawed. Flawed.
Flawed means having imperfections or weaknesses, which every human being does. Being flawed is not the same as being fundamentally broken or bad.
Maybe you've been speaking to yourself as if one mistake makes you entirely flawed.
You could say, I made a mistake, but being flawed doesn't mean being worthless.
Or maybe you're accepting your imperfections more honestly.
Then you could say, I'm learning to be at peace with being flawed.
Our final word is compassion.
Compassion. Compassion.
Compassion means genuine kindness and understanding for someone who is struggling. Self-compassion means giving that same kindness to yourself.
Maybe you've been much kinder to others than to yourself.
You could say, I'm trying to speak to myself with the same compassion I'd show a friend.
Or maybe you're practicing this in small daily moments.
Then you could say, self-compassion is something I'm still learning.
Beautiful. Today we learned 8 useful words: shame, harsh, acknowledge, critic, identity, authority, flawed, and compassion. Try to use one of these words next time you talk about forgiving yourself, or about how you speak to yourself after a mistake.
Now let's take a few simple sentences and say them better.
Let's start with a very common one. I was so stupid.
The feeling is real, but the sentence is very harsh.
You can say, I made a choice I'd make differently now.
Or, I handled that in a way that reflected where I was at the time.
That sounds honest and much kinder.
Here's one. I can't forgive myself.
We understand it, but it closes a door.
You can say, I'm still working through this, and that's allowed.
Or forgiveness is something I'm moving toward, gradually.
What about this one? I ruined everything.
Very harsh, very final.
A more honest version is, something went wrong that I wish had gone differently.
Or I acknowledge what happened without making it the whole story.
Strong sentence.
Here's another. I should have known better.
One of the most common harsh inner critic phrases.
A gentler version is, I made the best decision I could with what I knew then.
Or, I didn't have the information then that I have now.
And one more, I talked to myself terribly.
Simple and honest.
A smoother way is, my inner critic is quite harsh, and I'm learning to give the kinder voice more authority.
Or, I'm practicing speaking to myself with the same compassion I'd show someone I love.
That's the heart of today's episode.
I really love this segment because self-forgiveness can feel abstract, but these sentences make it something you can actually practice today in ordinary moments.
Yes, the next time the harsh voice arrives, you have an alternative. You know what to say instead.
So now we want to hear from you.
What is one old mistake you've been speaking about too harshly?
And can you say one kind, honest sentence about it instead, using a word from today?
Try to use one word from today's word tour: shame, harsh, acknowledge, critic, identity, authority, flawed, or compassion.
Thank you for learning with us today.
Keep practicing. Take care.
And speak to yourself the way you'd speak to someone you love.
Bye for now.
Bye.